So hi and welcome. If you saw the other video, you saw me unbox this, which is an Infinity Cr Plus from Harder Steenbeck, German company. I stripped it down, had a look at it. I've had a go at spraying with it, and it was an unmitigated disaster. I think when I'd put the nozzle assembly on at the front, I possibly hadn't tightened it up enough. So when I put the paint in and stuff, it shot out, and I had a massive blockage, and I had to do a big clean. So it's all bright and sparkly again now. I've chucked some water through it, and it does spray, and it works properly. I haven't thrown any paint through it yet, and I'm a bit nervous. And as you know, if you saw the other video, you know that I'm pretty new to this kind of YouTube-y stuff. I've not tried it before. But we've got air. I'm going to put some flow improver in first, because I think maybe I hadn't thinned down the paint, the ink enough previously. So I'm going to put a much bigger amount of flow improver in this time, and a lot less ink. Ultimately, it's just a practice thing. I don't need coverage or anything like that. I'm literally just doing it just to practice. And I've got an air leak on this hose, and it's driving me nuts. So I'm literally just going to pop maybe just one drop of that in. So last time I think I popped 3 drops of flow improver. It's a home recipe. It's dead easy. I've marked it on the bottle, but basically it's water, ideally distilled water, and glycerin. And the glycerin helps it not stick effectively. In the previous video I said I didn't use the caps, but the last disaster I had was so messy, I'm going to use the cap. And I'm going to backflow it to mix the flow improver with the ink. And to do that, you literally just cover the needle and let the air pressure bring it back up. Not used to doing this with a cap on. Normally I have it open so I can see. I'm worried now that if I try and get the cap off, I'll spill paint everywhere. Let's have a go. I think it might spurt out, that's the only trouble. There we go. So, bubbled up nicely. And pop the cap back on. Just because it is such a small cup, this is the 2ml cup. Like I say, I've ordered the 5ml cup, and I think that'll be a little bit easier to use. And before we start spraying, just get some air through and just check that we've got spray. And we have. So this exercise isn't really for modelling. This is for fine art stuff, which I'm certainly not. And I've just used my airbrush purely for modelling previously. But I wanted to get better at the control. And apparently exercises like this help you. And this exercise isn't about the straightness of the line. It's about where you start and stop the line. So there's a couple of lines, top and bottom. I think ideally you're not supposed to have this dollop at the top, which I'm getting, because my control's just not good enough. I should start moving earlier. There we go. I couldn't do this with the Badger. I never got this to work. I would get a dot at the beginning and a dot at the end, because the needle was just bent. I've ordered new needles for it. I'd like to keep the brush. It's a siphon feed as opposed to this, which is gravity feed. A siphon feed means you have to use higher pressure. That's the point. Let's try turning the pressure down. Higher pressure to pick up the paint, because it's being sucked up from underneath effectively. You can do pencil thin lines with this. As you can see, I'm pretty awful. But this is the first ever go that I've actually had any degree of success. So, I'm quite pleased really. I'm still getting splodges at the top. I'm not quite sure how to rectify that yet. There we go. With this control at the back, you can set it up as a backstop. Shouldn't be getting paint there. So that's now acting as a backstop, and I can dial it back and just get a very small amount of paint. For a modeler, this is going to be a boon, but that means you get consistent lines. So this is going to cheat, really. Not really what I bought the airbrush for, but how useful is that? You can literally just go, pull back, it stops, and you get consistent lines. And aren't they consistent? And they're pencil thin. Obviously, the closer you go to the work, the narrower the line. You can still get a spread if you back off. You can get that lovely airbrush line. Beautiful. And then you can just click it off. There we go. And we're off. So this is now proper freehand learning to control it styly, which I am not good at. But hopefully, maybe an hour a day doing this, I reckon I could get better. If anyone out there is watching who's good at airbrushing, I will take all your hints and tips. So we've gone down, top to bottom, left to right. We're going to go right to left. What a beautiful piece of equipment this is. Yeah, I'd love some hints about not getting that dot at the beginning. I think it's the speed at which I move across. Probably delivering too much paint as well, so probably need to go even lighter with the trigger. And I'm getting better. Oh, I'm getting worse. I'm going to go diagonally. And like I say, it's not about how straight the lines are, which is good because my lines aren't straight. It's about the control of the trigger, trying not to get that dot, which I keep getting, and trying to turn the paint off at the right point and on at the right point. So ideally on the line. Oh, almost. There we go. Pulling back too hard there. And we go the other way as well. Still going over that line a bit, but generally getting better. And then the other diagonal. I won't do too many of these, I don't think, because it's a bit low on the page and the brush is getting stuck, or the airline's getting stuck. I wonder if this is like one of those ASL things. Can't do any more of those, I've run out of space. And then the other exercise that I've seen is this one, which is about creating dots on the junctions. And I'm trying not to rest my elbow on the table. Pull back a bit and get a bigger dot. Ah, see, I'm missing. My aim's off. It might have helped if I put my glasses on, I guess. I've reached that age. Ah. What a beautiful airbrush. I've never ever been able to manage to write my name with an airbrush because, quite honestly, the control just wasn't there. But let's give it a go. Wow. What a beautiful brush. Let's try some thick coverage, see what happens. So you could cover it, this is a 0.2mm nozzle, and you could cover an area quite quickly. That's mad. I don't have extraction, sadly, so I'm not going to do too much of that. I want to breathe it in, and I probably did it too wet. But there you go. What a beautiful little brush. Let's try an intermittent clean. Not tried this yet. Don't want to put any more paint through than I need to. Some people will probably blow the paint through. I'm just going to tip it out. Ideally you want a cup. I'm going to try and backflow it out as well. Nothing really coming out of there, so I've blown it all through. I'm going to throw some water through it first. And actually I don't really want that to go through the brush either. So I'm just going to give that a good rub around with the cotton bud. Try and jiggle any of it out. And that ink thinness was a lot thinner than I expected. I could do with a bigger cup. I'm not used to gravity feed. I've always used siphon feed. And actually for cleanup, siphon feed is probably easier, to be fair. Let's do that again. So rather than throw that through the brush and, you know, carry on putting paint through it, it's probably better to try and get as much of it out first as you can. And I have invested in a cleaner. Not a cleaner, I shouldn't say a cleaner. I've invested in a pot to spray this into, because for the last 8 years I've been spraying it into my lungs and it's probably not the best thing for you. I'm going to pop the cap back on. I'd love some extraction, that'd be amazing, but I haven't quite got there yet. Let's see if that will blow through. Yeah, that's blowing through nicely. Very different experience to my first go. So I'm going to blow the cleaner through, and again that's a homebrew, so it's 20% IPA and the rest is distilled water. I just mark the bottles up, makes it easier just to be able to do that. And it's still coming out quite dark and nasty, so it's still quite dirty. The other thing I tend to do with this, once it's coming out clean, is run it onto a sponge and then use the sponge to clean the tip. I think we're going to have to throw even more through. How's that looking? Getting there? Then we'll try and backflow it as well a bit. There we go. Much cleaner. So what I tend to do with the tip as a quick intermittent clean is I'll spray all that airbrush cleaner through onto a sponge and then just dab the tip in. It's softer and more gentle on the needle. If I use my fingers, I'm probably more likely to damage it. And again, you can use that to backflow as well. The pinch tip, you can just easily pinch it and backflow it. That's nice and clean now. I'll just tip that out. And there we go. All done. Obviously, proper clean. Kind of clean up the cap and things like that. You don't want the paint kind of lingering. You can take off the take off the colour cup. Have a proper check down in there. Definitely take a clean cotton bud. Give it a bit of a dibble around. That's nice and clean again now. Perfect. It's quite easy to clean up. The tip, you can just do that before you kind of strip it down and clean everything. And there you go. I'm really happy with that. That's the best result I've ever had with an airbrush freehand trying to do lines and dots and dashes. Thanks for watching. Hope you haven't gone to sleep. Cheers.